I started, I must have been, well, my dad shaped some surfboards and I remember watching him shaping surfboards, so I thought, you know, that was pretty cool. So I started using resin and stuff, just fixing friends' boards, and that was kind of fun when I was a kid. And I moved to the Gold Coast, and I ended up working for Brothers Nielsen Surfboards there. And at that time I started as a ding repairer. I would have been 21, I think, 21, and I was pretty soon after that, you know, I was sanding surfboards. So I kind of started with ding repairs, foiling fins when it was the era, you know, there was still a lot of fixed fins on boards. So I was making those, and I started sanding, and sanding is a great opportunity that leads you into, you know, design. You know, you start feeling what rails on good boards are like, and you see a lot of different shapers that, you know, you're finishing their product, so you get to feel a great feeling on how a board should feel. So that was for 4 years doing that, sanding, and I'd shape the odd board myself after a while. You know, just I don't think it was probably any good. I mean, I used it, and I think they were all right, some of them. But yeah, I'd always be working with great shapers, so I'd always get boards off shapers who would shape for us. The Cove, I think, is ideal for fine-tuning equipment. It'd be a great place to go in there with a heap of different ideas of mine, you know, for a specific surf. And I'd be able to watch him surf and go, okay, it looks like he's kind of not getting enough projection out of the bottom turn, you know, so maybe I would, in that sense, I'd probably widen up the tail and maybe change the rocker slightly. Maybe, you know, if he was, you know, wanting to get more vertical or something, I'd probably lift the tail rocker a bit, or maybe tweak with the nose rocker. There's a whole lot of different things you can do depending on the surfer, but ideally, to, you know, as a training facility, I think it's fantastic, wave pools. I think epoxy would be an advantage, especially in the freshwater scenario, for certain guys. You know, some guys are going to prefer their normal PU board because they can drive through turns and push and as hard as they want, and they're technically proficient to be able to surf these waves brilliantly, and they get it down. You know, so they're not looking for any performance benefit, so to speak, from their equipment. So. And some guys are struggling with the wave, so you might have to adjust their equipment a lot, you know, like by changing to epoxy, for instance, just to give them that added float and for them to go down the line a lot easier. I know the Waco one, our young guys, or Noah, he wanted to use epoxy there, and it was quite powerful. He broke a couple of boards there too. I think it breaks boards. You can't really do them radically super light, you know, as what some guys probably want them super light, is they're just going to snap. So you've got to get that happy medium and hope they don't snap. Try out with just some, you know, some subtle changes to the board. I think it'd be great. You could even change, you know, maybe try an inch shorter, 2 inches shorter. You know, adjusting rockers to suit it'd be a great place to really film, watch, replay, see how they, you know, and plus the surfers would get that wave down. You know, they'd work out where they position to do an air reverse or an aerial or low tail or whatever they do, you know, so then you could really, you know every wave's going to be the same, so you could watch the board go through its motions. For Kelly's wave, it seems that place is, you know, the wave is quite fast. It's got a very long hollow section. It's very predictable. super high performance. I think it separates the average surfers from the very good surfers. You'll see a lot of those guys do really well who are in that, you know, that top 10 echelon. I think you saw people like Geordie had problems with his size, you know, his size of equipment, and I think he used a shorter board for that, for Kelly's wave. I think just for the overall, that, you know, size of the wave and the pocket size and that ability to turn quick and sharp in the pocket, and you know, I don't know if that's adjustable with the speed of the wave or whether they do that to allow people to surf differently, but I think guys were using their normal, a lot of guys were using their normal shortboards there. I think that just comes down to confidence in your own equipment and knowing what it does. Certain guys would probably try and tweak different ideas to be able to probably blast different manoeuvres in different sections. Maybe the amount of speed they need to race that section, that tube section, because it's quite fast. I don't think you don't really see a lot of, you know, cutting back on that play. So it's more pocket manoeuvres and gaining and maintaining momentum. I know guys who've surfed it and say it's quite powerful. You know, you can really cop a flogging, you know, hitting the bottom and bouncing off the bottom and stuff. That wave's kind of, it seems to have the one with the least amount of power, maybe the least amount of push, and it's kind of a bit slower and allows guys to open up on the face and do turns, kind of, you know, that kind of style surfing. So for those guys, I mean, kids can get away with surfing, you know, very small boards, but if you wanted to give them that edge, I'd probably make a board that would maybe be an inch shorter if I had to, slightly wider, slightly flatter, maybe through the back end, and slightly wider in the tail area, just to give it that surface area to skim off. It's got a lot of punch, so that means it's moving quite rapidly, you know, so maybe your standard shortboard would suit, you know, those kind of punchy, it's like a punchy beach break, but you know, you can come square off the bottom, hit the lip and run with it and rebound off the last section. So your standard shortboard is probably gonna do well there, but if you needed, you know, some extra flotation, I mean, that's freshwater as well, isn't it? So maybe you could add a 1/16th, you know, in the thickness. You could add an 1/8 in the width if you really wanted to. But, you know, generally I think with any of those wave pools with that kind of peakiness, they already got the power behind them to drive a regular surfboard, and it's just like adapting to a different sort of beach break. You go to a beach break that's a peaky deep, you know, peaky beach break, or one that's, you know, a bit open, a bit longer, a bit flatter.